you are. Twitter's a freaking public service, guys. I'm reading the Twitter. Come on. But great feedback so far from everybody. So we'll keep it more interesting for you guys and talk directly with the folks who are working day in, day out on MeeGo. And I think one of the most important guys, but certainly not the single most important guy that's working on MeeGo these days and really driving the product is a gentleman named Ahmad Sosa. You know, Ahmad is a guy I've known for a long time and really drives Linux and open source strategy across Intel and across a huge variety of platforms and technologies. You know, a lot of people might not know this, but Intel actually is one of the largest open source development organizations in the world, and that all rolls into Ahmad's team in the Open Source Technology Center. And these guys are responsible for tons of major projects over the history of Linux when it comes to Intel's enablement of those. Things like Linux graphics, things like, you know, KVM and other virtualization technology. It's just amazing to think of the work that's been going on, in particular early in the days of Linux. So let's welcome the man who's behind a lot of this, the director of Intel's Open Source Technology Center, Ahmad Sosa. Ahmad, come on out. How's your leg? Oh, it's good. It's good. As soon as we're done with this, I'm going to elevate it, and about 2 gallons of blood will just rush out of the leg. But enough about me. I want to hear what's going on with you. Just for a quick reminder, you guys, Twitter and Identica. So if you have questions for Ahmad, just go ahead and send them to MeeGoConf or KeyNoteQ hashtags, please.
Yeah, careful what you ask me. My boss is sitting somewhere here.
Yeah, right over there. So yeah, he'll say like tough ones. You know, I think a lot of people, as I mentioned earlier, might not know this, but you guys work on a lot of stuff related to open source and Linux. And you know, tell me about some of the innovation that's going on, and tell me about, you know, how that's impacting you.
Yeah, I mean, the broadness of the work that we do on open source is just a reflection of, as all the previous speakers have said, just the broadness of the use of Linux and open source. It's and it's well beyond mobile. We're seeing it everywhere, and obviously, you know, this is what our customers are asking us for. So. And what's interesting is that it's not just broad in terms of the different usage model, as you previously described, IVI and, you know, netbooks and tablets and handsets and so on, but it's also across the many geographies. It's well beyond. It's not all about the Bay Area. Let's put it this way. So we're seeing, you know, cars in China running MeeGo already. We see, you know, tablets in Europe, like you talked about the VTab guys and so on. But the work that we do is fairly broad in the OTC. I mean, there's obviously all the traditional work, or, you know, the things that we've been doing for the past decade or two. You know, enterprise Linux, you know, all the chipset enabling, virtualization with KVMs, and many of those type of projects. Then, of course, there is, you know, mobile. You know, and there's a huge amount of effort with mobile, obviously, you know, with what we're doing with MeeGo, but there's also work on Android, work on Chrome OS, and, you know, all the other, you know, mobile operating system. And then there's all the really, you know, the new projects that that you see us starting to work on. Obviously, the deeply embedded Yocto embedded Linux project. That's a very key area for us. We're seeing a lot of demand. A lot of Intel customers want it, and we see a lot of people using Linux in these deeply embedded. And this is not. This is more towards things like telecom servers, machine-to-machine interaction, and so on. And these are, we're seeing a lot of growth there. One of our another one of our really key projects is Wayland. And this is, as someone was telling me this morning, this is graphics done right on Linux. I mean, we've been living in, if you look at the Linux graphics subsystem, I mean, it's been designed in the 80s, and it's time to move on, and this is what we're trying to really focus on, bringing, the graphics subsystem to become really a modern graphics subsystem in Linux. In general, I mean, in our work with Linux and in open source, one of our key objectives is that when a customer of Intel or when someone uses a piece of software, whether it's operating systems or whatever it may be, we basically want that customer to have the best experience using that software on our platform. That's why we spend so much, and our customers are using open source, and that's why we spend so much effort in open source.
Right. Let's give credit where credit's due the MeeGo effort that's going on out there, because I know that a lot of work that goes on in MeeGo not only is making MeeGo a great platform, but it benefits all these other projects as well that you just talked about.
Right,
It's not a zero-sum game for all of these different Linux-based efforts that are going on. How does that process work, with the work you're doing?
Upstream. I think, upstream is the way MeeGo really works, and as you probably all know, it's upstream is basically the bulk of the work happen in upstream projects, like in the kernel.org and on the Bluetooth project, on Ophono, Command, X graphics, or whatever those projects may be. And the reason this works well is it's three things. It's scale. It scales really well. It's fast. This is the fastest way of doing things, and it's economical. So when you look at components of an operating system, it's really composed of of some hundred packages, several hundred packages. These packages are common. When we add a feature in Linux, we don't want to do it in MeeGo and go help Google make sure that they have it the right thing in Chrome for our platforms and so on. We just do it once, and it's done upstream, and everybody picks it up from there. So it scales really, really well.
Right.
That's the fastest way of doing things also, and it's very economical because others benefit from it, and we benefit from that because once when people use your software, they tend to contribute to it, they give you feedback on it, they give you test results on it, and so upstream is really a very fundamental way of how MeeGo works, and it's a natural way of how open source works, for you to be able to benefit from it the most.
You talk to a lot of people in the industry just because of the unique position you have. When people come to you that want to create products or create a new service, what do they tell you is the reason that MeeGo is so attractive to them?
I think the number one thing is freedom to do what they want to do. Especially once you go outside of things like a tablet or things like a netbook, where almost in everywhere else, it's very the device experience is very unique to whoever is building that device, whether it's an automaker or it's an OEM. They want to build something that is unique to them in terms of an experience, and they want to do it. They want to have the freedom to do it, and more importantly, by the way, to them, they don't want to tell us about it.
Right.
You know, so I mean, literally, we hear about some products using MeeGo from the news, just like everyone else. The Weed tab, I actually found out about it from CNET, I think, or someplace like that.
Right.
And we see this a lot. So the freedom of being able to use MeeGo without having any strings attached, you just use it. And of course, you have to commercialize it. You have to do some work to make it, to turn it into a fully supported product. But that freedom is probably the number one reason that people tend to gravitate towards, something like MeeGo.
Right. I've got a couple of audience questions that I want to get you to address. I think some of the people want to know, MeeGo is an open source project. Obviously, the Linux Foundation is hosting it. When are we going to see the TSG expand? Is that a question I've got a couple of here. Do you any insight into? I mean, obviously, there's no opposition to that.
Yeah, there is no opposition to that, and we haven't, to be quite honest with you, that has not come up as an issue in terms of as something that is blocking anything. In fact, we didn't have even nominations for somebody, hey, I want to be a TSG member. So if you think you want to be a TSG member, please nominate yourself. I mean, we have the TSG meeting, so you should nominate yourself.
Right.
But remember, the TSG's role is actually quite limited, because everything happens at one level down. Everything the actual decisions on technology happens by the maintainers, on quality happens by the people who are leading the quality section. So there is a very well-oiled machinery, and it's very well deeply rooted in open source, mainstream practices, as you well know,
yeah.
That you really don't, you don't have that management, that there is some committee that somehow magically is going to manage an open source project. It just does not work this way. But if, the TSG is a great place, for discussion and for people to give advice more than anything,
yeah.
And approve some formal structures. But it's not, people, think that somehow it's a center of power, and it is not. The center of power is actually well deeply rooted in the project itself, and that's, but if somebody wants to be on TSG, please, send us your nomination.
Yeah, I mean, we get the same kind of questions all the time at the Linux Foundation for a variety of projects, and we get people coming to us asking for advice on how to structure them, and we always say light is better up top, that the real decisions happen by maintainers within the projects and existing upstream mechanisms, and that's what really drives the efficiency of projects like this. Quick question while I got you on the stage from an audience member. Will Wayland be a part of MeeGo 1.3? We will have an experimental branch with Wayland on 1.3, right?
And what we're really targeting is Wayland to be the main branch on 1.4. But this is the high level. It's really hard to judge. We just started the branch. I mean, once we released 1.2, we started the Wayland branch just now. So with 1.3, there's going to be two branches: the main branch and the Wayland branch, and then 1.4 probably is that when it will switch over completely to Wayland.
Terrific.
Yeah.
I see we've got some people nominating themselves already on Twitter.
Okay, hey, Don is here.
You know what? I'm just going to throw my name into the hat while we're at it. I want to be on the TSG as well. Well, it looks like things are coming along, and I just kind of want to wrap up by asking you just generally what's your sense of how things are going, and you have your pulse on this community really, really well.
I think it's going great. I mean, just look at the presence here. We had, I was talking to Amy earlier today, and she was telling me there's more people who registered for this conference than we had in the first MeeGo conference in Ireland, which is really great, with many less people from the sponsoring companies, which is really good to see. The one thing, I mean, the special thanks that I would like to give today is for all of those who actually work on this conference. It's extremely difficult, and there are so many people who actually put, who work to make, the MeeGo conference successful, that I'm reluctant to even mention names because I know I'm going to miss a bunch, but I will mention one person, Amy Leland, who leads the organization of the conference. So wherever you are, Amy, thank you very much for that.
All right, well, thank you so much, Ahmad. Ahmad obviously is going to be around, and there is tons of cool sessions going on, and I'm sure you'll see him bouncing all around. So thank you so much for coming up on stage today.
Sit down.